What's going on, y'all? I want to share a grind my gears moment because, I be perusing YouTube because that's my thing. And I keep coming across these videos, and even on like social media, Facebook and Instagram. And I keep coming across these videos of like locticians or just, content creators, whoever just decides to make a video. And they keep saying, like, starting locks this way is the worst method. You should never start your locks with braids or two-strand twists. That's the worst way because um, you run into issues later. And I'm like, what's the point of saying this, really? Because let me tell you something. There's a lot of DIYers out there, and some of the most beautiful locks I've seen are from people who did them themselves, and they thrive. I mean, like, what issues are you talking about? Unless they're talking about people who just really don't know what they're doing. They just slap some twist or braids in their hair. But even still, who's to say that those locks won't thrive or aren't? I'm like, what is it that you've seen that made you say that starting locks by two-strand twists or braids is like the worst thing you could possibly do? What do you want people to do? Come to you and let you charge them a whole bunch of money to do something that they feel they can do themselves? What? Because you feel you can give better parts? Like, there's two-way mirrors. I've watched YouTube videos of people starting their own locks or doing their own braids, box braids. Their parts are precise and they did it themselves. Like, why would you discourage people? Why would you make a video that's basically discouraging people from starting their lock journey on their own? Again, some of the most beautiful locks I've ever seen were locks that people did themselves, that they started themselves. And here's the thing, if you really do your history on locks, and how the Africans and the Jamaicans wore their hair in that lock style, even the Egyptians, they didn't part. There were no grids, y'all. That's something other folks, Americans, like, that's what other folks came up with. And then that became the standard. But when you look at the true history of locks, there was no neatness. There was no purposeful neatness like grids. Locks were organic and natural, and maybe there was a little bit of, depending on what look you wanted, but there was nobody with rulers and measurements measuring out parts in grids. And I think people lose sight of that. And that's why I feel like too many people are trying to force their views of what locks should be or what they should look like. And, if it doesn't have the correct parting system, they're going to fall out. It's going to be uneven. You're going to experience thinning. And you know what? Hey, if a person starts their locks on their own, and I've heard a lot of people say, I don't care about parts. I don't care about a grid. I don't go by a grid. I go by feel. I feel my way through my hair and I do my retwists. Those who care about neatness, parts, and grids, okay, yes, that's when you go to a loctician. That's when you go to these shops, because there are people there who do all those things. But people need to know that you don't have to do your locks that way. You don't have to be super anal about neat parts and grids if that's not your thing, if you don't care about that. I am one who do not care about parts and grids and neatness. But I do go to a loctician who she'll go through, make the parts neat. She makes sure they're even. That's about it. Like, she doesn't spend a whole lot of time on my parts, but they're always neat. They look perfect. But that's just her. That's how she is. I really don't care. I don't. What I care about is how neatly she does my reties, my retwists, because I my hair is not interlocked. I stopped interlocking my roots, what, 3 years ago? Because I feel like twisting is healthier for me. I feel like in the long run, it's less manipulation. So, I mean, that's just my feeling. That was my choice. I just, I didn't feel like having a lock tool being used on my hair anymore. I didn't want it. So, yeah, I switched to twisting. And I'm happy with that. Do my retwists last? They last for maybe a couple of weeks, depending on when I wash my hair. And then yeah, it'll come down. It'll look like I never had a retwist. But I'm okay with that too, because the other thing is, I don't mind having bushy roots. I don't mind fuzzy locks. Like, and that's another thing, y'all. People are so obsessed with not having fuzzy locks, and they're going to a lot of extremes to get rid of them. And like, I'm constantly seeing on Facebook in these different lock groups, how can I get rid of my fuzzy locks? How can I get rid of the fuzz? What can I do? What can I do? What can I do? And I'm like, don't they know that the fuzz is part of the locking process? And that's also something that will eventually go away on its own. But it also depends on your hair type, because some hair types, you're going to have that fuzz. It's fuzzier than other people's. Like, if you have like a looser texture, or like 3A, 3B, softer hair, yeah, you're going to deal with the fuzz for a while. But a lot of people just don't get it. Like, they don't know, or nobody's telling them that the fuzz is part of the process. And if you do want to have that sleeker look, I think depending on the kind of locks you have, yeah, palm rolling and those type of things will help, you know, I guess get rid of the fuzz and kind of form your locks. But I just don't understand. And again, you go back to the history of locks, and you look at the Jamaicans in their locks. It's only over here in the States where locks are manicured. Locks are, you have parts, you have grids, and they look neat all the time, when really that was never the purpose of locks. And I know, looks and ways and all that stuff has evolved over the years. But my thing is, now people are trying to make this the standard. Like, this is how locks are supposed to be. This is how your locks are supposed to look. No, 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 no. That's up to the person. That's up to the individual. And I think I said this before in other videos, like Sister Locks brought out the OCD in a lot of people, or Sister Locks made a lot of people OCD because of that grid, because of that perfect grid. And if your grid isn't perfect, if those parts aren't perfect, then people lose their minds. They lose their minds. They want to be able to flip their hair and do this and show perfect parts. And they want to be able to see scalp. They don't want to see new growth. They don't want to see fullness. They want to see scalp. And yeah. Yeah, I thought scalp was cute when I was first looking into sister locks until I got sister locks. And then I realized I don't like this. I actually like my locks when they're old and when I have a bunch of new growth. And I love the fullness of them. I don't like scalp. I don't like the scalpy look. That's why when I was 6 months in, I was like, this is not for me. This is not for me. I don't like the stringy locks. Yeah, I know, give it time. They're going to get bigger, but not much. They're not going to get too much bigger. So, yeah, I combined. That's why I combined. Because, yeah, that scalpy, skinny look just was not for me. It wasn't for me. But again, I hate that people are trying to make it seem like locks have to look a certain way. Like, no, they don't. And this is why I say do your research. Research locks. From the very beginning, I mean, look at how Africans wore their hair, Jamaicans, Rastafarians, you know, they were never manicured. And depending on the tribe, like different tribes wore their locks, their hair a certain way. And they formed the locks in a certain way, but it was never manicured. There were no parts, there were no grids. But again, if that's what you like, hey, knock yourself out. But I hate seeing these videos and posts by people who try to say that you shouldn't start your locks with braids, or people shouldn't be doing 2-strand twists. What are you talking about? Says who? I don't understand that. And I think that's more of a marketing ploy to get people in their chairs, because they want to be able to start their locks by interlocking, by comb coils. And listen, comb coils don't work for everybody. Not everybody likes comb coils. Not everybody has the patience for comb coils. That's why there's other options. Insta-locks, I mean, 2-strand twists, braid locks. I mean, there's other ways to start your locks. It doesn't have to be what some loctician is trying to tell you they need to be. And again, a part of your research also, sometimes, I say do your research. Get on the internet, look up stuff. But also, a lot of people, if you don't know, and for those who really, really need their hand held through the whole process, find a loctician, ask for a consultation, and then ask 1,000,001 questions. Ask them to walk you through the process. Ask them to walk you through their process of starting your locks, and then how often they'll ask you to come back, and all those things. Ask about recommendations for your hair texture, because that's also a way to see whether or not this person truly knows hair, or do they just know how to lock hair. There's a difference, and whether or not you care about that. So that's why it's important, ask questions, write down questions, ask for a consultation with several different locticians. Even if you're just doing traditional locks, ask for a consultation. Go with your natural hair out, or if you whatever, so they can observe your hair, so they can look at your hair, look at your scalp, your curl pattern, and try to determine the best way to start your locks, and to see what you feel more comfortable with. That's what you do before you get locks. And then just kind of go from there. And if you know other people with locks, talk to them, ask for their advice, ask who they go to, what their experiences were. Those are the things that need to be done before you get into this lock journey. And don't listen to people who tell you don't start locks with 2-strand twists or braids, because that's garbage, absolute garbage. So many people have started their locks that way, and they have the most beautiful locks, healthy locks. So don't believe that. So that was my grind my gear moment. I just wanted to share that, and I hope y'all have a good day. Bye-bye.